From Chael saying that fans aren't interested in seeing the fight, to Israel Adesanya's sad predictions on their obscure fight, here's Sonnen revealing why Pereira and Blachowicz are narcissists. The UFC legend went on a hilarious rant about the two fighters and shared his thoughts on his YouTube channel. Sonnen said that neither of them knew how to sell their fight. They believe that they're skilled as hell, and their past wins were enough to create hype around their fights. But here's the thing, Chael thinks that they're completely mistaken. In his eyes, Pereira and Blachowicz just don't have that special something that draws in audiences. He couldn't help but throw a few jabs at them. He cheekily said, "From the department of who cares comes Blachowicz versus Pereira. Ouch!" But he quickly clarified that he didn't mean to sound like a jerk, he just thought that these guys didn't have the ability to create any buzz around their matches. In fact, he actually called them both narcissists. But hey, Chael knows a thing or two about combat sports and narcissism. He believes anyone who steps into the ring is bound to have a bit of that self-centeredness. I mean, come on. He proudly admitted to having a touch of it himself, and that's how he can spot a narcissist from a mile away. He also pointed out that the problem wasn't only with the fighters, but also with the promotional content, like their posters and videos. They both assume that the average fan will automatically know the backstory of the fight. All the buildup and the tension from the past few years is a bit too much to keep up with for most. Only a few people would actually know the importance of this match, and the unique dynamics between Pereira and Blachowicz. Sonnen said that they're so narcissistic that they believe that everyone understands it's a clash between a three-time victor and a guy who lost once, but put up a good fight. On top of that, you've got a reigning world champion going against a former champ making his comeback. It's the power of Pereira's punches against the technical brilliance of Blachowicz. If marketed right, this could have made headlines as soon as it was announced. But here's the thing, Chael said that people don't find all of this as intriguing as the fighters think. Even the UFC president, Dana White, tried dropping the bombshell about the co-main event at UFC 291, but no one was interested. Sonnen, on the other hand, couldn't contain his excitement or his opinions. He talked about Alex Pereira. This Brazilian powerhouse was the UFC's middleweight champ. He delivered a knockout blow to Israel Adesanya in a mind-blowing fight at UFC 281 back in 2022. It was only his fourth UFC fight, and his unexpected victory left the entire world shocked. But his reign didn't last forever. He eventually faced Adesanya again at UFC 287, and let's just say he experienced a dramatic knockout loss. So, he decided to move up to the 205-pound division, where our man, Jan Blachowicz, was patiently waiting. The former light heavyweight champ welcomed Pereira to his new weight class, and you know what? Pereira is pretty stoked about this move, but maybe he should be reconsidering right now. He's hoping that dominating the light heavyweight division might pave his way to another shot at UFC Gold, and all without the hassle of cutting a crazy amount of weight. That's a smart move, theoretically. Title opportunity, the stakes couldn't be higher for both fighters. But Chael Sonnen isn't falling for all the hype. He said that fans aren't as interested in Pereira versus Blachowicz as they are in the Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje matchup at UFC 291. Sonnen thinks the UFC's decision to make the light heavyweight bout the co-main event is a big red flag. It's like the promotion is admitting that the fight might not sell as well as the others, so there's no need to put any money into it. But despite all his doubts, Sonnen confessed that he's still intrigued by the matchup and said that it'll be an interesting fight at least, especially since it's the same belt he once fought for too, against the legendary John Jones at UFC 159. But as hyped as the Brazilian brawler is about taking on the heavy-hitting Jan Blachowicz, it seems like the UFC president and Pereira aren't exactly on the same page. Look at it this way. Pereira recently lost his UFC middleweight title to his long-standing rival, Israel Adesanya. Now he's looking to carve out a new path in the light heavyweight division. He's got his sights set on Blachowicz, who has a bad rep for taking down middleweight champs making their debut at 205 pounds. Pereira believes that if he beats Blachowicz, it should secure him a title shot in the light heavyweight division. Sounds like a solid plan, right? Well, Dana White had something different to say about that. During the ESPN 46 post-fight press conference, White said that while a win over Blachowicz would obviously better Pereira's chances, it did not guarantee anyone a title shot. According to him, nothing in the fight game is ever guaranteed. I mean, it makes sense. Things are so unpredictable, with fighters dropping in and out all the time. But you can imagine that Pereira probably didn't want to hear that, especially since he's making his first debut after his brutal knockout loss. He isn't a complete stranger to the light heavyweight scene. In his kickboxing days, he was actually the Glory light heavyweight champion, but this will be the first time he's venturing into the light heavyweight division as an MMA fighter. That's quite a transition. And what's raising some eyebrows is the quick turnaround Pereira is making after that knockout loss to Adesanya. Typically, fighters take about 6 months off after such a tough fight. They're humans after all, and they need time to recover, physically and mentally. But Pereira is jumping back into the octagon way too quick. And to make things even more intense, he's facing a powerful striker like Blachowicz. Now, no one can predict the future, but it's worth noting that Pereira might not be in the best position to take this fight. He hasn't given himself the recommended recovery time after that knockout loss, and he's decided to go up against Blachowicz. I mean, that dude packs a serious punch. If Pereira suffers a second consecutive knockout loss, it could seriously impact fan interest in his fights and raise questions about his skills. And even if he does win, his injuries might be more than his body can handle. It's all in the air right now, but UFC middleweight champ Israel Adesanya came out to make his predictions on the fight. He said he's fully expecting Blachowicz to bring out the big guns and show his wrestling skills when he faces off against Pereira. And trust me, Adesanya knows what he's talking about, since he had a taste of Blachowicz's wrestling cojones himself. He also had a crack at becoming a double champ when he moved up to face Blachowicz in 2021, but he suffered his first ever loss in that fight. He took Adesanya down not once, not twice, but 3 times. He outstruck the fighter and walked away with a clear, unanimous decision victory. Adesanya believes that Blachowicz will have a similar game plan against Pereira, and he's going to take him down and just beat him up badly. He's pretty confident about it too. Adesanya expects Blachowicz to spar with Pereira for a little while, but he'll eventually push him toward the fence, or attempt to take him down, the same way he did. But he doesn't think Blachowicz will shoot for the takedown right away. He's too clever for that. It's more about getting him against the fence and working from there. Adesanya also shared some insights from his own experience with the fighter. He admitted that the Polish fighter surprised him with his strategy when they fought, because he thought Blachowicz would stick to his usual style of fighting and go in guns blazing. Instead, he entered the octagon and went face-to-face with a strategically timed takedown that caught him off guard. It wasn't frustrating for Adesanya at the time, and he said he respected Blachowicz's technique. But here's the fun part. Adesanya believes that Pereira might just catch Blachowicz off guard as well. He has the potential, and if he times things right, he could catch Blachowicz off guard. It's all about those what-if scenarios, you know? He said that Pereira's strikes are definitely something to watch out for and that anyone could get caught in them. But Adesanya admitted that if Blachowicz manages to take Pereira down and keep him on the mat, it'll all be over. Guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. So from Israel, Adesanya's sad predictions on the obscure fight, to Chael Sonnen revealing that fans aren't interested in seeing the two fighters, here was Sonnen revealing why Alex Pereira and Jan Blachowicz are narcissists.